All right, so really, I would say kind of the last major domino left to fall this free agency period is Aaron Rodgers. And, he has been known to really take his time making some of these decisions. So I figured, why not give my list of top 7 teams that I think he could sign with? I'm going to just preface this by saying most of these teams are kind of weird to even put on the list. Like, I think these are essentially 7 teams. I think there's like a greater than 0% chance, but that still might be like less than 1% chance. But honestly, picking 7 teams here is a little bit tough. So that's also kind of why I thought it'd be a fun video. So yeah, without further ado, let's get into it. Right off the bat at number 7, you're going to see what I mean when I say, okay, some of these have a very small percentage chance of actually happening. The reason why I put the Packers on the list is I do know he has a lot of reverence for that area and for the organization as a whole, for the franchise as a whole. I also know he has real issues with the the current management of the Packers, so that would be why I think some people would just laugh this off. But he does have a lot of respect for Matt LaFleur. He does have a good relationship with Jordan Love. This would be as a backup. That's kind of essentially what I'm saying is if he doesn't get a great starting job in a position that he likes, does he decide to go there as a backup? He'd be the best backup in football. Probably not. Probably doesn't happen. Less than 1% chance, I would say, but maybe greater than 0. So if I had to pick 7, I'll throw them on the list. Number 6, I'm going with the Indianapolis Colts. And again, it seems like this isn't happening. It seems like they're out of the sweepstakes here because they have Anthony Richardson still, who I don't think they've fully given up on, although they're definitely maybe have some concerns there. They also did add Daniel Jones, so it seems like that's what they're going in with. We assume when you add the quarterback, you're okay. It is worth mentioning, the Giants had Tommy DeVito and Jameis Winston. They still went out and added Russell Wilson. Now, I would say Anthony Richardson and Daniel Jones is better than Tommy DeVito and Jameis Winston, but still, that is a situation where you could potentially see if the price is right. The Colts do have a good roster. It wouldn't be the craziest thing in the world to happen. I think, again, the fact that they already threw money at Daniel Jones makes me think it's not going to happen. But, again, number 6 on the list. I think it's fine to throw them on there. Number 5 is a team that definitely, honestly, in hindsight, I'm thinking about it now, maybe could be even a couple spots higher. But here's the thing. I just think they're going to draft Cam Ward and be done with it. So I don't think this is going to happen. But if they decide they're not crazy about Cam Ward, they could either take best player available or realistically in that case trade down with a team that does need a quarterback, and then they could decide to go with Aaron Rodgers for a year. Couple other issues though at play. For one thing, does Rodgers want to go there? They don't seem like a team that's really ready to compete just yet. I mean, they just finished with the worst record in football, so that's not exactly a hot take, right? And of course, at helping the quarterback position will help with that, but will it fix everything? That I don't know. Now, again, because we can agree or disagree on this stuff. I think Rodgers is still an effective quarterback, even if he's not prime Aaron Rodgers. But still, there's some real offensive line issues, although they have made moves to fix that. We'll see how the rest of the roster can come together. But that's just kind of what would, I think, hurt it. But again, if they feel like the offensive line can get fixed, they do have some weapons, they do have some pieces defensively, and if they feel like they can fill the rest of the holes on this roster, maybe they feel like, hey, let's throw in Aaron Rodgers, see if we can have a Tom Brady Tampa Bay situation. Again, that team was 7-9 and then won a Super Bowl, not worst record in football, winning a Super Bowl, but still, maybe they try that route. Number 4, I am going with the Minnesota Vikings, and I know that, okay, listen, basically every report that has Rodgers and the Vikings together is also having the sentence, will not sign with, because it just seems like every report is, no, Vikings aren't interested in Aaron Rodgers, and it seems like Aaron Rodgers isn't even really interested in doing the Brett Favre thing, right? I do think that when a lot of people kind of bring this up, they bring it up because, well, it's the Brett Favre thing, right? And it'd be funny. And it would be funny, no denying that. The main reason why I still think it's worth mentioning is, as of right now, the only 2 quarterbacks on the roster are J.J. McCarthy and Brett Rippon here, who, they're going to need another quarterback, I would assume, here. So, with that in mind, maybe you decide, hey, again, if Aaron Rodgers can give us good quarterback play, if he can fit the system and, not request Nathaniel Hackett, and if he fully buys in, this could be a really good team. The thing about the Vikings, though, is it seems like they don't want a another Sam Darnold situation. They just let Sam Darnold walk of a guy who's going to be an effective player, but also is he going to be a superstar? And if we're paying a solid quarterback, great quarterback money, that's not a good idea. So if you're doing this, Rodgers is probably taking a pay cut to make it happen. I don't think it's going to happen, but there is a greater than 0% chance, right? Number 3 is actually an interesting one. So I'm going to put the 49ers on this list. And again, people will disagree with the fact that I'm putting this on this list. So I want to be clear right off the bat. I like Brock Purdy. I think I think his kind of MVP candidate season, I was probably lower on him than most, but I think I'm actually higher on him than most now. I think he's an effective player, and I thought he played pretty well last year, especially given the circumstances with everyone getting injured. The thing about the 49ers is famously, they did not go after Tom Brady because they felt good about Jimmy Garoppolo. They decided to keep Jimmy Garoppolo. Tom Brady goes to Tampa Bay, wins a Super Bowl. Now, Aaron Rodgers is not Tom Brady, but is there going to be a similar thought process with Kyle Shanahan of, hey, this guy's a Hall of Fame quarterback. Aaron Rodgers at his peak is certainly better than Brock Purdy at his peak. Is he going to be at his peak is the question, but that's why I can kind of see it happening. Again, I don't think this is going to happen. To me, I really think it's down to 2 teams, but for the other 5, I think there is maybe, some chance that it could be the 49ers, although really, I would kind of feel like the 5 I just mentioned are dark horses. The top 2 are teams I think he could go to. Number 2 is the Cleveland Browns, and a big part of this is going to come down to Shedeur Sanders. Shedeur Sanders is a player who many really like as a prospect. Many aren't as crazy about as a prospect. So I don't know where the Browns are currently at. As of right now, the 2 quarterbacks on their roster are Deshaun Watson and Kenny Pickett. That's not even good enough to go into the season with if you're a rebuilding team. You would need a bridge quarterback in that scenario. So they're going to add a quarterback, and they're going to make an effort to, I think, try to add a big-name quarterback like they did with Deshaun Watson. Now, again, similar to the Titans, is this a perfect fit for Aaron Rodgers, right? Because you don't have a great situation, although it is worth mentioning the offense did have a lot of injuries last year as well. Hopefully you can get that better. Stefanski is a good head coach, I think, at least good offensive head coach, and the defense has kind of been hot and cold year after year. You can maybe try and talk yourself into it that way, and you would have the number 2 overall pick in this scenario. Again, if they like Shedeur Sanders or Cam Ward, I don't know who's going 1, but if they like Shedeur Sanders, who I think would go would still be there at number 2 enough to draft him, they're just going to draft him. But if they don't, maybe they trade down, add some pieces, sign Aaron Rodgers, and hope they can have him for a couple years. I think it's possible. But number 1 is kind of the obvious one, the Pittsburgh Steelers, who currently the 2 quarterbacks on their roster right now are Mason Rudolph, who is back on the Steelers roster, and Skylar Thompson. You're not going into the season with that. And unlike the Browns, who have a number 2 overall pick and might just use get a quarterback that way, the Steelers don't even have that. They had Justin Fields and they let him walk. They had Russell Wilson and they let him walk. Mike Tomlin and Aaron Rodgers have had a relationship for a while, and it's a good situation. And honestly, an even better situation. They added DK Metcalf. Like, this is, if Rodgers comes here and he fully buys in and he says, you know what, Mike Tomlin, tell me what to do and I'll respect your leadership and follow what you do, I don't even think it's impossible that it could work. Again, I'm not going to, quite frankly, he's lost the benefit of the doubt given how poorly it went last year with the Jets, but it's not crazy that things could go okay. The Steelers have added talent, and this just makes the most sense. I certainly think it's the move he would want to make the most. I think the Steelers, you could kind of try and argue, is there better moves? But also, at this point, there definitely isn't better moves. Maybe there were better moves at the start of the offseason. Definitely not a better move now. So, yeah, I could see it happening, and it'd be interesting if it does. But, the guy who he beat, or the team that he beat in the Super Bowl several years ago, what is that, 15 years ago at this point? Maybe he could win one for them. I wouldn't go that far just yet, but I don't know. That's what makes the most sense to me. But yeah, those are my thoughts. What are yours? Let me know in the comments below. Always love hearing from y'all. And of course, as always, thanks for watching.